This is Zichru Daf Simanim Gemara Basra Daf k-Ayin Harah, and k-Ayin Harah is k-Ayin Harah, and Ayin Harah. So that whenever we think about k-Ayin Harah, we're going to conjure up in our mind everything related to an Ayin Harah, k-Ayin Harah. So we have in a picture over here, someone lying in his deathbed. Of course, we have another shchimera. What's he holding? He's holding something, of course, about an Ayin Harah. Daf k-Ayin Harah, k-Ayin Harah. He's holding a chamsa to ward off any of the Ayin Harah, but Lamaisa on his deathbed, he finally admits that he owes someone money. Of course, the children are standing around and they're all saying, "What? No jokes on their deathbed." Ain't on the Mishata Mishas Misa, which is point number one, that we're going to believe him. Point number two is that his children are sitting here. He is a son sitting here learning Dine Mamanis. Why? Because he wants to be wise. But of course, sometimes chavrusas, you get jealous. The other chavrusa thinks he's the number one chavrusa. So the father on his deathbed gives his son a what? A chamsa, again, to ward off the Ayin Harah, because he wants to be the number one learner. And number three is, what is this boy and his chavrusa arguing about? They're arguing whether shibuda daraisa or Shibuda lav daraisa. So we have to have k-Ayin Harah, all about that Ayin Harah. Someone admitting on a deathbed. No one jokes around on the deathbed. Number two, the boy who received his chamsa, he's learning Dinei Mamnis to be wise. And number three, the machlekes is whether Shibuda daraisa or not. So we go a little bit deeper into these 3 points. Point number one is, says Rava Shchimra Shahidamau, if someone admits something on the deathbed, Sarach Leimer Atemei Dai or not. Normally, an admission does not help unless he later designates them as witnesses. Is that the same as Shchimra? Furthermore, does he have to write the admission or not? Normally, you do have to. Says the Gemara, Eina the Mishata Mishas Misa. So we accept his admittance even without the Eidim, without the Atak Saivoy. Divrei Shchimra Kechsuvu Chemasurin Damai. Point number two is this boy who received the chamsa. Why? Because he wants to ward off the Ayin Harah. Tav k-Ayin Harah, k-Ayin Harah. It says the next Mishnah that a halva milva b'shtar can be collected from the chassid b'shubad milva al peh, can only be collected from b'nei chayrin. And Arev comes along. You got from b'nei charim. That's how Rabbi Shmuel Paskin Benanis argues that no. If someone is strangling someone in the marketplace, someone else says, "Leave him alone, I'll pay you." He's pater. Why? He didn't lend him on his trust. And Arav is only chayiv what he committed before the loan was given. Says Rabbi Yishmael, that's where this incredible statement came from. There's no miksaya greater. It's like a flowing fountain. You want to be wise, be like Benanis, like Bedine Mamanis. And again, this came after the conversation of if one obligates himself in Arev, or if one obligates himself when someone needs money b'shuk. And point number three is Shibudal De'araisa. Again, remember those two boys arguing. The Chavrusas, the one who received the Chamsa, k-Ayin Harah, to ward off the Ayin Harah, is Shibuda Daraisa. Ula says Midaraisa, famous machlekes, says Ula Midaraisa, everything can be collected in Chas B'Shabbat because Shibuda Daraisa. The Rabbanan said Milva Al Peh cannot. That was the sheet of Ula. Rabba argues. Rabba says Shibuda Lav Daraisa. Midaraisa you cannot collect. Only Midrabanan, they came along and said that the Milva B'Shtar you can collect from Shabbat Damai Kedel Shalotinal Deles Bivnei Lavin, but not in a Milva Al Peh. Why? Because there's less law column. So we have our 3 points. We have to have k-Ayin Harah, k-Ayin Harah. The person on his deathbed, when he admits something, even though normally you have to say Atemei Dai, normally you have to say Ksayvai, but on a deathbed, we're going to believe him because Einan the Mishata B'Shas Misa, again on the deathbed, clutching to his chamsa to ward off the Ayin Harah. He gives an Ayin Harah to his son, who's sitting and learning b'chavrusa. What's he learning? Dinei Mamanis Aritza Shayachkim, which came along after the conversation whether Benanis, whether if you obligate yourself as an Ariv or not. The finally point number 3 is, what were they arguing about? The machlekes says Ula Shibuda Daraisa, Rava Shibuda Lav De'araisa, and that's going to factor into whether the Chacham came along to be Makel or to be Machmir. Tav k-Ayin Harah, k-Ayin Harah, B'siyata dishmaya.